This Talking Flutes podcast is kindly sponsored by Trevor James Flutes, making life sound beautiful. You can show them some flute love by following them on Instagram at TJ Flutes, Trevor James Flutes on Facebook, and at trevorjamesflutes.com. Hello everybody, and welcome this week to Talking Flutes Extra with me, Jean-Paul Wright. Before we begin, just a quick request from Claire and I for you to like, rate and review Talking Flutes podcasts on whatever platform you're listening to these on. You see, this really helps the algorithms to bring our popular flute podcast channel to the fore when other musicians are looking for online podcast inspiration. So thank you in advance for this. This flute player was born in Sydney, Australia, into a musical family where she spent the first 13 and a half years of her life. She began learning the piano at the age of 3 years and 9 months. She then moved to Sarajevo in Bosnia and Herzegovina in 2008, where she has since received a master's degree from the Music Academy in Sarajevo in flute performance and a bachelor's degree in music theory and education. Known more popularly as Ariana Flute, one of Ariana's biggest passions, aside from her academic work and teaching, is sharing her love for music on social media, mostly through Instagram and YouTube, where she currently has more than 95,000 followers on Instagram and over 70,000 subscribers on YouTube. From classical, pop, rock, jazz and world music, Ariana has a deep love for recreating popular tunes into fun arrangements for flute and piano, solo flute with backing tracks, multi-tracks and so on. Her social media feed is never lacking variety and is always different, fun and on point. Through her Instagram account, even the famous Hollywood musician and producer DJ Khaled, or Khaled, do you know, I don't really know what that is, but DJ Khaled found Ariana's profile, resulting in him reposting her cover his team asked her to remake on his popular Instagram page, where he has over 20 million followers. And let's not forget Ariana playing on an episode of The Simpsons. Yes, The Simpsons! But more of this later. So everybody, may I proffer a very warm Talking Flutes welcome to the uber popular and lovely flute player. That is, I'm determined to get this right, this surname right, Ariana Piknjač. Is that right?
Correct, Jean-Paul, correct.
Better known to you all as Ariana Flute, or, like Kylie or Madonna, simply Ariana. Hello, Ariana.
Hello, Jean-Paul. Thank you for that very beautiful intro and kind words.
It's my pleasure. And we're doing this via Zoom. When we first spoke via social media with crikey, what seems like many, many years ago now, your focus was very much on your classical music studies.
Yes.
However, lurking behind that social media frontage was always a mischievous musician who saw that the flute should be enjoyed as a fun hobby or study and shouldn't really be handcuffed and chained to only one genre. And there's lots of things I can refer to here, such as you sitting in the back of a car doing the car reversing sounds on the flute on video. The mischievous side always came out. What was the spark that made you decide to change your musical communication on social media, or did it just evolve? Devolve? Or did it just evolve? Yeah.
Evolve, yes. Well, that's it's a beautiful question that maybe requires a chronological kind of explanation of how everything started.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So basically, long story short, but it might be long. Anyway, so I was brought up in a musical family. Of course, I started playing piano when I was just 3 years old and 9 months, I think it was. I had a Russian teacher and it was very strict. So I was going to competitions. I wanted to be a pianist, actually. So what happened is I grew up in Sydney, Australia, moved to Bosnia and Herzegovina, where I'm living currently, in 2008. So then I enrolled the High School of Music, where I wanted to then actually become a pianist and enroll the piano studies. But fate happened and I received a flute as a second instrument on my theoretical studies. And so then I said, I love this instrument. I feel more connected to it, and I want to study it. And it was just very intuitive and spontaneous. And basically, it continued with my studies at the academy, where I received my master's from Flute, and I'm currently doing my master's from music theory and education. And that's how it all started, with basically with music. But so with social media, this was also so just very spontaneous. I've been very much always when I was studying, very, very focused and practicing a lot, studying a lot. And I felt just this inner need to share my music, share my practice sessions. I can't explain it. It was just this fire in my heart, in my belly, in my whole body. And Instagram was just starting to kind of become very popular then. So I think this was around 14, 15. I just slowly started posting some videos. Of course, I didn't care about angles, didn't care about anything. I just wanted to share what I was playing. And of course, people started to react and comment, and I wasn't at all I was thinking about that. I was just wanted to share all this music that was in me. And then of course there was a flute community that started happening. There were other flute players now starting to make profiles, and we all connected. Then there was the a cappella app that went crazy back, I think it was 2016, 17, and I did wonderful collabs with amazing flutists and musicians from the world. And it was just this beautiful energy. And of course, so while I was studying, I had, of course, lots of etudes that I was practicing pieces, sonatas, everything, and exams and concerts. So I was in this classical musical world and sharing this. Down the track, while my studies started to get not that intense, I started to have the need to share my love for other genres that was always there, actually. So as a child and as a teenager, I loved to do acoustic covers of songs I was singing and playing. I actually posted this stuff on YouTube a long time ago. I don't think the videos are private now. So I just loved all this other type of music. So I would love to listen to Emmanuel Payou all the time on YouTube and flutists, and this was something I would do in my spare time. But also, I'd love to listen to popular music. All sorts of genres. So I don't feel like I'm a person that is can put into one box. So I have a lot of love for a lot of things in life. So if we're talking about music, that's a sort of part of a lot of genres. And in life generally, I can't put myself into one box. So then this is where it started. So I slowly started to just have all these different ideas in videos I posted. For example, I would do ones, what do you think sounds better? Does it sound better on alto flute? Does it sound better on C flute, on piccolo flute? Then I would do playing flute and piano at the same time. Then I would do a collab with someone. Then I would do a pop music cover with my sister, and just all these things that happened very much, as you said, kind of it evolved. So it wasn't I'll sit down, it was strategic, it had something behind it, some sort of meaning. No, it was literally just me being in touch with myself and following my heart and following what I wanted to do. So for example, I remember back in 2017, I listened to Eric Whitacre's beautiful piece Sleep. Mm-hmm. So of course, this music, we can't say, it's popular music that it has like millions of views, but in these moments, I really, let's say, I didn't care. It was something that was so close to my heart, and I said, I want to do an arrangement, a 1 minute arrangement. I think that was the length of the a cappella app that I had, and so I just want to do a 1 minute arrangement for flute of this piece. And I remember I did it, and then Eric Whitacre saw it, he reposted it, and just these things I think happen when you open your heart, when you connect to yourself, and you're not just afraid to share. And, I just have, when I can look at my Instagram, there's so much stuff. So it's hard to say, I'm this and this. It's just everything. So sometimes I even feel just, so yesterday I was just playing along with Barrio Sequenza, and I was practicing this piece. And then just last night I was jamming with my sister. We were playing some rock music. So it's always just a lot of these different things that I think just evolved from me following my heart and intuition. I think this is something how I would explain it.
But when did the daft videos come in? The ones where you just didn't take yourself seriously? And as I did mention you sitting in the boot of a car doing the reversing of the flute sound. That's just one of many. When did you start thinking, just why not? Because you were doing that before TikTok became a thing.
Yes, so exactly. I just think also these things, I can't explain it, but I'm just doing my everyday life and then I just have this idea. I just had an idea actually this morning or something I want to film tomorrow for TikTok and Instagram Reels. So it just happens. It occurs to me. And of course, we are all subconsciously also influenced by things we see. We scroll, and that's also good. For example, I'm on TikTok and then I scroll and you see different trends that are happening and on Instagram Reels. So we're all influenced, but I sometimes also think that there is a specific idea that channels through me. And then if I feel it and I grab it, I'm like, this is really fun. And I love I love life. And I think I love this playfulness about life. And I think I want to connect that with my profession, my flute playing, which, unfortunately, we all know there is a tendency in the classical musical world. There's a lot of elitism and perfectionism, which is very stressful for, we are all human beings at the end of the day, and all these competitions and just perfectionism and everything has to be perfect. I just want to smash that sometimes, be like, just let's have some fun. I was at the seaside. I remember I did a video playing the flute at the same time and like playing ping pong and just these things. And of course, you will get comments like, oh, what are you doing? Like all these things. But there are more, positive comments among that. And I think in these videos, it's just, I feel, people, you give them a laugh, you give them something in their day that will put a smile on their face. They will see the flute. So it's something, for example, that video that you're mentioning in the boot of the car, I think it had over 1 million views on TikTok. And I got approached by MTV Ridiculousness to license the videos. So this is basically, I think what I'm, also trying to do is connect this beautiful instrument with the whole world, and not just putting it into one focus on one genre of music where just one part of the population will listen to. Of course, I wouldn't be playing how I play at all if I'm not very much classically trained since I was a child. But this is what I'm feeling now. I just want to make the flute so popular. And when I get messages from girls and boys and men and women from all ages that I've inspired them to pick up their flute again, I've inspired them to start playing the flute. Because I think there's an emotional connection with people. For example, if they hear their favorite song being played on the flute and they're like, wow, I love this song. Wow, how it sounds on the flute. Wow, I want to play the flute. And it's all kind of, I think, a process that's happening in the brain and connected with emotions. So this is some sort of goal I have, and just to inspire people and make their day. And I see people have been enjoying these videos. I feel the ones that are also goofy and the covers. And I feel this is kind of the path that I have taken, and I'm continuing down this path, and I'm just really excited to see what's ahead.
Well, you make a very good point, and a very valid point, in that an instrument that takes a popular number, already pre-recorded number, can really transform that instrument in the public consciousness. And there's one perfect example of that, which is Sir James Galway and Annie's Song, because that was the song that made me start the flute, because it made my mum cry. If anyone can make my mum cry, then, because she's old English, she can chop off one finger. It doesn't matter, I've got another 4. But she heard him play the John Denver song, and you just think, yeah, he took that. And then suddenly this flute beat was everywhere. It was on the pop channels. It was, in those days, we had Top of the Pops in the UK, which is like the biggest pop channel every Thursday night, I think it was. And he was on it, a flute player, the man with the golden flute. So you're exactly right, taking modern day covers and transforming them into arrangements for the flute and with the piano. And that can be Coldplay numbers, it can be Elton John numbers, it could be anything.
Exactly.
It brings that flute, it takes it out of its box, which we all think of as being classical.
Yes, exactly. It's literally, like you just said, taking it out in the context of the times that we live in. And of course, when we're talking about kids, what are they on most? It's, and TikTok. And I remember on TikTok, I wanted to do this. And so what I did, I took viral TikTok songs and then I said on flute. And these videos
Yep.
and wow, all these girls are saying, I play flute too. Wow, this is so inspiring. And also some of my students that follow me on TikTok, they're like, oh, can you teach me this? And of course, you know, they're learning flute. We're doing all our tone exercises, technical exercises. And then I love it when they come to me with this wish and passion. And then I think I give that, like, okay, let's do this now for fun. Let's do it for fun. Let's do this for like 5 to 10 minutes at the end, because it's not too hard to learn. But then they're so inspired to practice, and then they will do all their tone exercise and technical exercise to play this even better. So I definitely think that in modern day times, this is basically just one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing.
But it's valid music, whether it be Bach, whether it be Mozart, whether it be Cargelert study. The music that you're playing on TikTok or your students are getting inspiration to play covers, it's still valid music. It's still creating and playing the flute. It's still creating music.
Exactly. So you're so right. I remember I did just something that's connected to this is when I played a driver's license by Olivia Rodrigo with my sister. And I remember it was very, very hard to record. A lot of these pieces are very hard to record in terms of what? So when we're learning flute, you know, of course, when you hear about auditions taking place for orchestras, they say we only hear one bar and that's enough. Dum, dum, da, dum, dum. When they hear intonation, sound, breathing, all these things in just a few notes, that's enough for them. So this is not, I'm not comparing Mozart and popular music, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of playing the flute, if I'm playing one note, if I'm playing something very slow, a pop song, doesn't matter. Everyone can hear my intonation. Everyone can hear my sonority. Everyone can hear everything. So all my aspects of everything that I'm playing on flute, I could play that same thing. It could all be sharp. My articulation could be very sloppy, all these things. So I'm not downgrading so when I post something on the internet, of course, I have my own musical ear and self-critic, and I'm listening to all these things. Is the run smooth and clean? You need to have your technique up to scratch. So I remember the driver's license was in a key that was very, you know, of course, as a flute player, how we have certain keys that are just difficult, all the notes that are so close together, but just such different ranges in intonation that you have to perfect. And of course, there's no auto tune, there's nothing. So it's just saying, like, all these things, it's still music, and it still has a high, let's say, playing level to it.
Yeah, and if you can get 1 million views on TikTok or 1 million views on Instagram playing a cover on the flute, surely that is more inspirational to a wider audience than perhaps just getting 100 or 200 playing Bach, however valid that is.
Yes, of course, we're saying how we can't compare. I mean, of course, this you know, classical music is classical music, but as you just said, like these millions of views, and I remember, so yeah, on my YouTube, some videos have been, you know, blowing up and analyzing what they are. So The Simpsons, close to 3 million. Then Boom Boom Tam Tam, which this Brazilian artist, he took Bach's Fatuta and he put it. It's in the middle of A minor and B flat minor. It's very flat B flat minor. Anyway, so he put that in the beginning, and then he has this whole song, and the video is a little not that amazing, but just this part. So I took that first part, then I had the song played in the background, and I did an improvisation. I had like double tonguing, jumps, all these things, and that's also got close to 3 million views. Then Mask Off, and all these trends, and I think the people that enjoyed it, so they've heard the original, and then they hear, oh wow, you know, what is she doing? She's adding something to it. Wow, this is so cool. And they're really enjoying these covers, especially I think when I add my own improvs to these popular songs.
Well, we have to talk about The Simpsons, don't we? We have to. You casually mentioned it there, and you casually mentioned, you don't sort of mention it that much, but for me, that was huge. I saw the original Instagram post where you played the theme tune of The Simpsons with your sister.
Yes.
And it was lovely because Simpsons is Simpsons. It is a stable part of probably the English-speaking culture for many, many, many years. And then one day you posted, guys, never guess what, and then you posted the back end of a Simpsons actual episode, and it's you playing.
Yes. That was it's still surreal to me. So just basically how it all happened was, of course, just another day of getting an idea, and Ella and I talking about it, like, okay, let's do The Simpsons. We found a little bit of the sheet music, we were listening to it a bit, and of course, I mean, Danny Elfman's theme, that's amazing, and his use of tritones, and it was just beautiful. So I was like, wow, this could be played nicely on the flute, nice range and those fast 16th notes, all this, and Ella's accompaniment. So we were practicing. It took, I mean, that was pretty technically difficult, a lot of these scales that I had to practice. So we were practicing it. And of course, yes, like all of our other Instagram videos, filmed, posted, no expectations, nothing, just posting our Instagram videos. It had nice feedback on Instagram. I just posted it on YouTube. And then I just started getting notifications, new subscribers, comments. And I was just checking the views on YouTube. It was going insane. Like every time you scroll, it's another 1,000 views. Every second, like 1,000 views. So it got up to 1 million, I think. And I was thinking, wow, this Simpsons theme is going crazy. I think it got onto the suggested recommended videos on the site. And one morning, I'm just drinking my morning coffee, and then I receive an email from Fox Studios / Disney Studios in LA. So I just opened it. I'm like, oh gosh, is this spam or something? Is this a joke? So I received this email from Mr. Robert saying, hey, Ariana, wow, it's Robert, music's licensing director from LA from Fox Studios. My producers of The Simpsons found your video on YouTube and they are in awe. We would absolutely love to license this. Who can I speak to further? And I was like, oh, speak to me. So it was just an initial shock. And I went on LinkedIn to check if he was for a real person. And then when he was, I was like, what is going on? And so, yes, this led into, so we were in contact with them. And of course, contracts, the licensing, we re-recorded it professionally and sent it over, and it was featured in season 32, episode number 9, at the end credits with our names, and this was just couldn't believe it. It's time to retire.
It's time to retire, really, isn't it? You can play at Carnegie Hall, you can play the last night at the Proms, but to play at the end of The Simpsons, I mean, crikey.
Yeah, so I just try and analyze this, like what happened, when we all talk about law of attraction and things like universe sending signs. And I was like, what did I do? So I just analyzed. So I was just in my craft, doing what I loved, being creative. I wasn't, people ask me, oh, did you message them? Did you send it? Did you tag them? I didn't even tag. I don't think I tagged anybody. I think I just put a hashtag The Simpsons or something. So it was just literal like fate, just the producers. It came out on their YouTube and wow. Yeah, it's just, I'm just very humble and honored that this happened. It's just something, and it's interesting. They made an IMDb and it says Ariana Piknjač, musician, The Simpsons, and I'm in the credits. So just wow.
There's a lesson there that sometimes if you try too hard, you don't get, and if you just do it for fun and just upload it, sometimes something sticks, doesn't it?
Exactly. So if I wasn't even trying too hard, that wasn't in the back of my head that this could happen. So it was just my sister and I having fun.
Everybody. If you haven't heard it, should we take a quick listen? Here we go. Well, what can you say about that? All I see is clouds parting. I can see Bart and I can see them all I'm in awe.
Yes.
I mean, The Simpsons.
Yes. Oh, wow. Yes, I'm still, you think that that I'm still in shock. And I, like you just said, when I heard about it and then I posted it and I think when I was posting it, I still wasn't aware of what happened. I was like, hey guys, we're just in The Simpsons. And yeah, I remember it was actually, there was a lot of media coverage here in Bosnia. I didn't expect this at all, but in Bosnia, they were calling Ella and I to do guest appearances in the TV. So it was a nice period. I think, yeah, this was winter last year. So
well, put it this way, if the great man, Stephen Hawking, said his appearance on The Simpsons finally made him cool, then, what a greater tribute can you have?
Yes, exactly.
Right, before we delve into the things that I'm really interested in with you, which is health, general health, body and mind health, what are your favourite warm-up routines? Because there are so many, and flute players, certainly those that are listening to the podcast, some are returning amateurs and won't necessarily have teachers.
Yes, that's a very good point of just saying that there are so many. I think that a lot of flute players, doesn't matter which level, you get very, in a way, intimidated and confused as to what people say. Do Tafanel Gobe EJ 4, 10, 7 every day, then the Moyes extended A, B, C, D, do all these things. And then we're like, oh, it's first of all too much. I feel if I do too many technical exercises, it takes a strain on my hands. Physically, it doesn't feel comfortable. And of course, as you know, all these tone exercises. So basically for me, I love to start off with just a nice warm up with della sonorité, just the chromatic going down, crotchet, dotted minim, B flat, and going all the way down. But I don't do it I don't do it not being present. So I try and be present, and I try to connect a lot of things through this exercise because it's not technically difficult, of course, for fingers. So the point is I try to ground myself. So I kind of visualize, my feet in the ground and just really relaxing my whole body. So thinking about posture and grounding myself and really focusing on taking these huge, like I like to say, goldfish breaths, where I really drop my jaw and I feel like my whole body is filling up with air. So I'm kind of doing a lot of things. I'm trying to combine the breathing, being grounded, posture, relaxation, and then of course sound, where while I'm taking this sort of breath, I really try and drop my jaw. I feel like my sinuses are open, and that kind of sound that vibrates in between your eyebrows. I try and get this at the beginning of my practice and just really open up. So I do this exercise and I take my time, and then also I can go from B then down, and then I go up to the third register. So this, I feel, really helps me warm up in a way where I try to get this voluminous sound and really open sound. Also, then I might do an exercise for my low register where for example, I start off on a C1, middle C, and I call them hoo-hoos. So I go C, C, C sharp, C sharp, C, and all the way up to D4, and go back to C1, but without any articulation. So I go hoo, hoo, and I push my diaphragm. So this is a basic thing that I try in tone-wise at the beginning. And then I love to do, I'm at this stage now where I'm really enjoying, I love doing now scales and all these things, because you don't feel an outside pressure of any university of anything. So now it's just me connecting with these and just taking a different approach to it. I love to do, I sometimes choose between doing Moyes extended scales all the way up and down, major, minor, and then T and G, Tafelan Gobert, EJ are 4, I think James Galloway, he said that that's like ironing scales. He would call them the ironing. He was going up and down. So I love doing that. Also third. So basically I love technique. I love to stick in between Tafelan Gobert and Moyes, daily exercises. So I think these are very, very good exercises for fingers. And of course, while I play, I really try and stay focused and mindful of what I'm doing. So posture still, and for example, my fingers, I try and keep them as close as possible to the keys as I can and not feeling any strain. And of course, my ear is my best teacher. So I really try and listen. If there are any sort of like finger transitions that are not synchronized, I hear them out and then go through them slowly.
I like the way that and we're going to talk about body and mind, but I like the correlation with your warm-ups, but also the fact that you're staying focused. I mean, a lot of flute players, a lot of musicians will warm up and go through a process. And that's just this subconscious process. They'll do it without paying attention to what they're doing. So
exactly.
it's like doing a running race and not warming up properly, because you're just doing a few exercises without pushing it, without relaxing, and then you get injured on the way. So you stay grounded and focused on everything you're doing. How do you manage to do that? Do you choose to practice at a moment when you know that you can be focused, or how do you push any thoughts that are in your mind at that moment aside?
Yes, so that's a good question. When I think about my studying days, it might not have been this much. So this is something where you have a lot of, I remember, so I was doing 2 majors. So my whole day was literally just studying and music and exams and all these things. So there were times when, of course, you need to practice when it's not convenient. Now I have a little bit more time in this way where I can choose maybe, so for example, if I have stuff to do in the middle of the day. So let's say 9 to 5, but I have time at night and I feel like I will be more concentrated and feel this practice more at night, I will leave it. But before, then nobody would have asked me, like, you have to do it now. So even then I would have tried this. Sometimes your schedule doesn't even let you warm up properly. And then I remembered I just have to go to the piece. So these were, it wasn't that common, but of course it would happen. But now I really try and say, okay, Ariana, you're going to practice now. And then I take that deep breath and I try do everything that I just mentioned. But it's very good that you mentioned that. It's very much an autopilot mind and subconscious mind where, 95% of the time of what we're doing, it's all a program in general in life. This is and our emotional triggers, all these things. So it's very much connected. And I think that we just take out an instrument, we do a little, and then we play. We're not maybe there. We're checking our phones all the time. And we're like, and I hear this all the time. I practice like 5 to 6 hours a day. I'm not progressing. Things are getting worse. Or I just always tried because I kind of had to learn to be time efficient because of everything I was doing. And I was like, okay, if I'm practicing, I'm going to be smart. I'm going to practice smart. So I'm going to do what bothers me the most. So for example, I remember a long time ago, the thing that was bothering me and what I didn't feel as comfortable with was my low register. So high register everything was great, but low register, sometimes it was like, is it going to come out? So this was, high school days and things like this. So I remember I just said, you're going to have to face it. No comfort zone. Go and drill out that. And with your ear, listen to it, drill out that low register. So then I really felt that this sort of way of really trying and managing my practice. So basically just trying to manage my time as efficiently as possible whilst practicing.
That's a very fair point, isn't it? Is that if people are practicing 5 or 6 hours, how hard is it to practice 5 or 6 hours and actually be present in all of those 5 or 6 hours? If you're present in 2 of those hours, then in effect you can make 4 hours for yourself because you'll do more in those 2 hours when you're present than wasting an additional 4 hours and not being there.
Exactly. And when you think about it, like you just said, you would have 4 hours more for yourself where you could contribute to your playing and your musicianship and your mental health by doing something else in those 4 hours, which is not necessarily practicing the instrument. So going on YouTube and listening to podcasts that will help your mental health, listening to some podcasts on stage fright, performance anxiety, you would do maybe so much more and so much more beneficial things in those 4 hours, or just anything. I just gave some few examples. If it wanted to be music related, then just necessarily drilling out things out of fear and stress. And it's impossible to be, of course, totally present for 5 to 6 hours. That's not possible. So I think we should try and do more things in our free hours, not just think it's not that amazing to be practicing too much. You can get lost in it.
And let's talk now, which again you segued nicely, in when you've done a really good performance, that release of endorphins that makes you feel good. You can have that every day, can't you? And you just alluded to that in those spare few hours that you're not going to practice your instrument because you're not fully present. And I know it's something that you strongly believe in, which is staying healthy in body and mind. And by staying healthy in body and mind, your whole musicianship and flute playing just increases exponentially.
Definitely. Can't emphasize this enough. This is very, very important. I think how I started with this mind, body, soul kind of practice and how you could hear it through my flute playing was when I started to have severe performance anxiety. I remember this started, and these, I believe in life, when we have these sort of situations, they're not there by accident. They're there to push you, like through, they always say, through the hard times, the light comes in and you meet yourself better, yourself, you grow through these experiences. So I remember this is the time when I was starting to, for example, watch videos on YouTube on performance anxiety, how to get through this. And now talking about flute related stuff, this really helped. And then I would create my own ritual for things that will help me. It's not the same for everybody. So other people, they have totally different ways of dealing with stress and coping with stress. But then I had my own ways. And then I remember after I finished one of my degrees, I fell in love with the gym. So I started to go to the gym because of flute related pain. So I had tendonitis actually in my left arm. So this was because a lot of too much of TNG and boys in a very strained way. So then I remember I had this pain, and then I went to a physiotherapist, and so we were working on this a bit. And then, of course, they told me you need to strengthen the muscles around these tendons. So it's not just the tendons. You don't have enough muscle to help the tendons while you're playing. So they're taking all the strain. So then, of course, I enrolled into a gym, and then I started to do all these workouts, of course, for upper body and strengthening my muscles. And I really felt a difference. I was like, wow, I feel so much more stronger. The flute feels drastically lighter. So this was something that gave me extra motivation. And then I just started to fall in love with the feeling of going to the gym, just talking about now, not just aesthetic reasons, but the release of, serotonin, endorphins, and all these happy hormones and everything that happens in the brain. I've just started to feel amazing. I would feel like it would be a place where I would literally let go of all my stress and just clear out my brain. And, of course, how you feel afterwards, how you're feeling during, and the benefits that you get. I mean, long-term benefits and even like short-term benefits as playing flute better. I would just feel just amazing with this. And of course, after workouts and stretching and all these things from the beginning till the end, I would just feel really, really good. Also, I think talking about things that happen in your life for a reason is, I think a few years ago, it sounds serious when I say I was diagnosed. I found out I had insulin resistance. So they say this is some sort of pre-diabetes. Maybe it was due to not well enough nutrition. For example, while I was studying, it was just always up and down and this, but I tend to think that it was from some stress that I would have. I was very, very responsible student, and I would give not just so much of outer stress, I would just give myself that stress with my thoughts and all these things. So with this insulin resistance, they say, of course, they want to give you medication, but I didn't want any medication. I said, I want to heal this naturally. So of course, during my research, I found out low sugar, low carb. So I started with this diet, and I just started to feel so much better. And I remember I lost a lot of weight, and just the combination of exercise and healthy foods really made me feel amazing. And then, of course, next to all of this, just working on yourself, not in just regards to what we're doing as a profession. So of course, it's my flute, that's my passion. But I think what has helped me a lot is working and connecting myself through, meditations and a lot of these things that some people would say, some people find this like through religion and it's like spirituality and all these things. But I think this is something that really helps me connect to myself and listen to myself, self-reflection, journaling. I love to listen. I listen to podcasts every day. I love, for example, Talking Flutes. And of course, I love Jay Shetty, Aaron Dowdy.
Yep.
You listen to all these. Yes. And a lot of, and Joe Dispenza, he's actually one of my favorites. So a lot of these gurus that you would say. And so just things that help you as a person, because at the end of the day, we try to say, what are you? Hi, I am a banker, or I am a flutist, but at the end of the day, your soul is, I am Ariana, and I'm connecting with Ariana. And for example, I look at my flute, and a flute it's something physical. It is an instrument where when I play, I feel like, my soul is playing, and I feel like I have my own voice through it, and I channel I think it's a channel for my creativity to come through, and a part of me, but it's not all of me. So this is what I try to say, it's my life. I do it. I love to teach also. So I do all these masterclasses and things, but I just try and say always at the end of the day, I connect to myself. And then when I feel connected, when I feel imbalance, I just have so many more than like creative ideas. I'm very happy. All the people around me, everything's a reflection of what I feel on the inside. So everybody around me is happy. Everything's great. So this is what I strive for, really.
And you're exactly right. Meditation is a way of just focusing on, well, it depends which meditation technique you follow. I mean, I do Vipassana, which is very much sitting by yourself and then waiting for a thought to come in, and then you choose whether to take hold of it or push it away. And then sometimes you'll get some insight and sometimes you won't. But the good thing is if you meditate over a period of time, you get to begin to understand, I won't say who you are, but you get to release areas that are self-limiting. And as musicians, if we're stressed or we've got all these thoughts going on, we can't really perform to our best ability. And it doesn't matter what ability level that is, because every performance from every single person is valid. You know, you don't have to be a Pahud or a Denis Buryakov. You can be an amateur that's only picked up the flute 6 months ago. Your performance is as special as any flute player. But exactly. The most important thing, as you've just said, is giving yourself the ability and the freedom to be you when you're playing.
Exactly. I think this is what, and like you said, through this meditation, we let go of self-limiting beliefs. And I feel that. So sometimes through meditation, I get, you have this thought and you're like, where did I get this thought from? This is a subconscious belief. And then you put it into your conscious mind. And then when you start to let go of this is where the true change happens. So I think this is very important, to not just be on this autopilot mode all the time. So I think sometimes as musicians, we don't even remember where everything started. It's just, you've been a musician for just, I don't know, for someone it can be the beginning of their life. Like, for example, for me, music, I can't remember a time music wasn't there, but for somebody it might be, just as you said, they're amateurs, they're starting out, but they have all these thoughts, all these beliefs. And I just try and also think this is important to not compare ourselves to others. So this is all these fitness pages are talking about this online. Don't compare yourself to others. This is important for musicians too. We, talking about fitness, for example, somebody, I want her body type or just her body shape or anything. But this is the same for music. I want this, or they're better than this. And like you said, every single person, every single performer, musician, performance is valid in its own creation. It's nothing, and at all the best flute players in the world, their performance is not any more valid or special than somebody that's starting out.
I know it's a real passion of you, of telling people, stop trying to be like somebody else. Stop looking at somebody and how they play and how they are and think, I want to be like them. Be like you.
Yes. I think this energy of people that are authentic to themselves, they're just being authentic, however that may be. Maybe it's authentic for someone that they're camera shy, that they're introverted, but they're being authentic. Be you, do you. You don't go against yourself. And I think all the people that are just authentically being themselves, and I just think they have such a magnetic energy, and I love these people. So this is what I'm striving to be. I strive to be as authentic as I can all the time, in all situations.
And that leads, as a social media influencer, that can be a very positive entity to many, this positivity and everything that you come across with. And yet on the flip side, it can occasionally, have a really negative impact. Being a social media influencer like you are, how do you balance the opposing forces when they arrive? And that is the positive stuff that is channeled through, and then the negativity, because once you're on social media, you get the clickboard freaks, those that will just type just to think it's fun.
Via fake profiles most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
How do you balance the two?
Yes. So when I started out, of course, it was very hard for me. I'm a very emotional person as a person, so I would take things to heart. I was pretty sensitive to this. I remember there was even some tears at the beginning. How could someone say that about me? Of course there were things that happened, and it's all in the past now. But I remember I would take it to heart, and luckily I have a very loving and supporting family, and that I share everything with. And of course, I would share these things. I wouldn't keep it inside. So I think this is, I like this part about myself where I if something's bothering me, I verbalize it, I let it out, and I ask for help. So I think if I would have held that too much inside, it would have maybe taken a different turn. I don't know. So of course, with time, now I am not sensitive to these things. I am aware that they exist. It is so you have action, reaction. This is literally a consequence. It's a reaction for, putting yourself out there. You cannot choose your comments. You cannot choose, the internet is just such an open space. Everybody is there and they can comment what they like. So I am aware of this and rationalizing these thoughts. And I say their opinion of me or whatever I've done does not affect my value, my worth, or anything. It's not personal. I like to say, whoever writes something negative to somebody, it's just a projection of their own feelings towards themselves and their self-worth. I really believe this because I have never, I can guarantee this with my life, will never write anything negative to anybody, even if it was an influencer, a celebrity with 200 million followers. They never will see my comment. I never have had the thought or urge to write something hurtful or even like a comment that somebody wrote that's got 50,000 likes. It's just, I feel there's no point, or why would I intentionally hurt somebody? So then if somebody does that to me, I'm just 100% aware that it's just them, it's not me. And it's very important to be aware of this. If you're doing what you love and you're not hurting anybody, so I'm not talking about somebody making a video with jokes that are very offensive or something, but if you're just doing something normal and you're sharing, for example, your passion for music, and somebody has the right, wants to write something mean, it's just them. So what I can do if I see it, sometimes I don't even read the comments. So if I see it, I will delete it and I will just block it. I won't respond. I will never respond. So this is how I do it.
Yeah, that means it's a hard one, and I get trolled a lot, and I only have a quarter of the following that you have. So it's just it's something that, I never respond anyway, and sometimes I'll just respond funnily. I'll try and be witty, or I'll just try and be sort of okay. I'll put something that is a sort of old London accent, but I'll write it like that. But that in itself is the wrong thing, because by responding, I'm giving a justification to a negative comment. So I think your advice is just to either, if you know something is going to be negative, just don't read it. And as you say, the person that's written that, it's really a reflection of the space they're in, because happy people and genuine people wouldn't really want to put negativity on anybody.
Exactly. That is 100% true. And the older I'm getting and months passing, years passing, and things that I'm witnessing, that's just so true. That is definitely true. And any troll that we get, it's literally just that person. So even if they think something like this, that why am I bopping up and down or something, we have thoughts, that's just a random comment. Yeah. I just remembered. You have we all have thoughts in a day, but if I would never put it into writing. So I don't think I will just always say this, it's just their reflection of themselves. And then I sometimes feel, in a way, I don't know if this is a good thing, but I've come to a point where I'm starting to feel a lot of empathy for these people, and I feel sorry. I'm like, I kind of feel sorry for them. They're not good. They're not in a good space if they're writing these things. So I get to the point where I'm like, can I help you?
And all you got to do is look at her Instagram feed to know that you just don't get a few comments. You get shed loads or bucket loads of comments. And it must be hard just going through and just thinking, okay. It's just crazy. But I do like that advice. Just regard anything negative comes through, regard that person is not in a good space. And the most successful people I know would never write anything negative on anybody else's feed or page, because they don't need to.
They're focused on themselves, on their thriving, they're living, they're focused on their loved ones, on their growth. They don't have time for this. So if they're going to comment on something, it's going to be someone that's better than them or inspiring them, and then just, thanks for the advice. And then they're just writing positive comments. That's the energy they want to be surrounded by and giving. So what you give. So I think the people, when they write something like this, when they write a troll or hateful comment, it comes back to them whether they like it or not. Not in a way that they're going to get a bad comment. I think subconsciously they know that they gave this hateful comment, and they, even if on a conscious level, they will feel bad. They don't like that I don't think they like that they've written it.
There's an old adage that I was told many, many years ago. I think I was complaining about something to my granddad. And he says, when you point and say something negative, so you've got one finger going towards somebody or something, you've got three pointing back at you.
Oh, wow.
So that is when I get a negative comment, I always think of my granddad saying, they're pointing at you. So they've got three fingers pointing back at them.
Exactly. I love this. Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, it's so true. Of course, we're talking about comments online. I get comments like this that in real life, you hear some, like, I don't know, people like rumors and stuff like from the universities and things like this. People, because I live in it's a small city, so you hear these things. And even though it's not just online trolling, you can get it in real life too. I think everybody gets this. Or even sometimes you can receive, I haven't, but I know of people that have received from even friends and people that maybe some fake friends that might be jealous. So they give you some manipulative comments, like putting you down or things like this. It might not be direct bullying. But I think even with these things, I think it's important to protect yourself and protect, I would say, our energies, and say, what is yours, it's not mine. And they say the power of words. So I think it's up to us to reject these words and not take them as true. Because I think that there's a beautiful book called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and there's agreements that we make. So one of them is words. Words are very powerful. So are you making an agreement with these words? And you say, no, I'm not agreeing to them. That's not true. I'm not taking that. It's not about me. I'm not agreeing to the words.
Oh, I love that. I mean, words are so powerful anyway, because when we read them, it opens up an emotion. And when we don't read them, but we know they're there, there's also an emotion there, because we have this curiosity, but we know that what's there isn't necessarily really nice. So what's the name of the book again?
The 4 Agreements.
Wonderful.
By Don Miguel Ruiz.
I'm going to have to go and get that.
Yes. I have it in Bosnian, so Četiri sporazuma. I think that's the original, the 4 Agreements.
As musicians, let's throw this negative troll stuff to one side. As musicians, when we're in a good space with ourselves, we're then able to unlock this emotion, the emotion that makes us as a different flute player or musician to the next person, because we all play the same dot, don't we? We always play the same blob on the stick. So we play the A, or we play the B, or we can play the opening bars of Mozart in G. We all play the same notes, but we all play it differently because there's different emotional interpretation within each one. If we're not in a good space ourselves, then our performance will never really do us justice.
Totally agree. That's so true. When you think about it from all different aspects, that's entirely true. And just a thought I had to this, I don't know if it's totally connected, but when you're thinking about competitions and why I'm, in a way, of course, they're good if you're trying to conquer one part of your brain, but it's all just competition with ourselves. I think if you're doing it for a reason, it's not for other people. I think it's just so subjective, isn't it? You have people in a jury that are, everyone's playing amazingly. So it's all in tune, beautiful. And then somebody likes someone's interpretation more than the others, but are we talking about emotional interpretation? What are we talking about? You can go pretty deep with this.
Oh, so absolutely. Yeah. And it's the word love. The word love means something very different to me as it would my next door neighbour. I mean, the COVID, for example, that word COVID that the whole world is aware of now, means very much different things to each individual people because we've all been hit in various different ways. And exactly. That word, which goes back to what you said earlier, the power of words, not only to how we think and how we behave, but how we create music, those inner words that come into our head, that little creature that sits, invisible creature that sits on our shoulder and says, the hard bits are coming up. And then you go through the hard bits and you go wrong on the easy bit straight after. The power of words is immense. And on the power of words, now you're a really, really positive person, and obviously being an Aussie, and I don't know if you're an Aussie, how do you regard yourself? Because obviously first 13 and a half years in Australia, beautiful country, and now being in Bosnia, you have, I wouldn't tell, it would sound to me as I'm calling you from Sydney, because you retain the accent and you just sound Australian. How do you feel?
Right. That's a really good question. I sometimes ask myself the same thing. So, as we are aware, I think up until we are 7, this is where your personality is formed, and you as a being, and everything afterwards. So those are the programs, and then afterwards it's just refining things. So I'm very grateful and glad to have been born and raised in Australia. So I spent 13 and a half, nearly 14 years there. So even though my parents, my heritage, my family, they're from Bosnia, so it's Bosnian blood and my last name and all these things, I still regard myself as, I feel I've picked up a lot of these things that I love from being born and raised in Australia. So of course, going to a public school and even 2 years of high school. So I would say I'm also Aussie. So I'm loving this. Yes. I'm so grateful for this, and the whole education system in Australia is just amazing.
So
very creative.
You've learned so much since you left Australia. So what I'm challenging you now to is if you could write a letter to the 13-year-old Ariana, just as she left Australia to this country of her, her heritage, her background, where all the family were, what advice would you give her?
Oh wow, yes, that's very touching and emotional. Just that picture of 13-year-old, 14-year-old Ariana in my head, and everything that has happened since then. So, I would first give her a huge hug. Oh, well, this is a letter, sorry. So if it was a letter, I first of all, just that thing that I think a lot of people would say is, I would just say, do not worry so much. Everything's going to be okay. I mean, it sounds cliche. All these people say this all the time, but it really is true. I would say, do not worry so much. Do not feel free to fall asleep at night with no insomnia. Just try and trust that everything's going to be okay, and everything will be okay. You will find yourself. You will have a great, relationship with your family, with friends. Just everything will turn out. All these little things that happen in our lives and that will happen in your life. Just these little things. They will become so not important and not relevant, and just so many beautiful things are waiting for you that you can't even imagine. So just stay true to yourself, be happy, do not worry so much, and just relax. Something along those lines.
Because leaving Australia at 13 and a half, that is such a delicate age in which to uproot, especially with all your friends and your social circles. You must have learned a lot since.
Yes, that was very hard, and I think just now, in the past few months, I've been doing a lot of this self-reflection. I tend to go back to that period because when it happens and you move and life just continues and it's all kind of like autopilot going through school, and then now you're like, wait, whoa, I changed continents, hemispheres when I was 13 and a half. Now, as I'm older, I'm working with, I have students that are teenagers, and I see this is a very delicate age, like you said, puberty, adolescence, this is very delicate, and all our hormones and just feelings about our body and just being so insecure. And moving here, I remember my first year when I moved, I had to go to an international school because my Bosnian wasn't very good, and I was bullied. They would make fun of me. They were just this whole class was making fun of me, and they would make fun of my accent, actually, which is very interesting. But now we think about self-reflection, they were actually jealous of an accent. So just things like this, and my fringe, my face, my hair, all these things, they would make fun of me. And I remember that year, so it was just me moving back, leaving my best friends, and it was the only option. So, and I remember I wasn't even sharing what was happening, so I was keeping that in myself. And then luckily, so I went to the High School of Music and all these things. But I think just this, until I remember those first few years, I was just desperately trying to fit in. Just moving from Australia, then I felt like an outsider. I had very much Aussie behavior, Aussie humor. Here, the humor is different. All these lifestyle things, it's just very different. I still have this in myself, and sometimes when I'm here and somebody makes a joke, I sometimes don't even still get it. So just these deep prints, and just trying so hard to fit in and just be accepted, and for people to like me, to love me, to be cool. And then of course with time, then you start to fit in. And then this is where I think even my flute was this outlet of mine, where this was me. I don't have to fit in. My flute is my flute. And I just, just with time, everything evolved. So it definitely was a very hard transition to go through.
And the question could be asked, you won't be able to answer it, is that if that move hadn't have happened, would we really see the Ariana that we see today? These very things happen, don't they? And we mould according to our circumstances.
People, when somebody asks you, or you read a question, or there's like quizzes on Instagram, or if you could time travel, would you go to the future or go to the past? And then I see like the polls, everyone wants to go to the past and like change things. I wouldn't. I would not change one thing at all, because I think every little experience, when we talk about the big ones, like every single little one has molded me into the person I am today in the 29th of September talking to Jean-Paul, and everything I'm saying. It's all the butterfly effect. So I wouldn't be who I am absolutely. And not even talking about what would happen if I stayed in Australia. I mean, of course, I have no idea. Who knows? Maybe I wouldn't even be playing flute at all. Like, we don't know. So I'm grateful for all these experiences. I'm just even sometimes even very immensely grateful for the bad experiences that I've gone through in different aspects of my life. They've literally made me who I am. And, I say, bring them on. I feel sometimes when I go through a turbulent period, I feel I come out stronger. I come out in a way wiser. And of course, there's always something to learn. So I just say, bring it on and let's see what's there to learn and mold into. Yeah, so I'm excited.
Your words are really motivating. You come over, you have a smile on your face with everything you're saying. And, we're doing this via Zoom, and obviously people can't see you, but you're constantly smiling. And with that smile comes a belief and a focus. And that then unlocks itself in musicality when you do your music, but also outside of music, because you have a genuine joy for life. But that's not all, is that doesn't make you sort of distant from everybody, because people can actually study with you online if they wanted to, can't they?
Yes, they can.
So people can study with a real flute influencer. Yay!
Yes.
How they do it, my lady?
Yes, so I give online lessons. I have some online slots on my website. Everything's on my website, www.arianaflute.com. And also I am a teacher on Play with a Pro, so whatever suits. So I'm on both platforms. Also, I had my first 2 flute online masterclasses in July. They were amazing. I was so grateful for the experience, and everybody that went through also told me they had a wonderful time. So it was beautiful. There were flutists from all levels, and it doesn't matter. So I always say these flute masterclasses, they're free of any tension. And I say, no, you don't have to be whatever level you're at. We're there in harmony, hands wide open, no stress, no nerves, nothing, just there to play together and help. And so these masterclasses are wonderful, and I'm planning on doing some more. So I have on my website some online forms where you can leave, it's very important. So I just have the email, and whenever things are coming out, like I'm doing also sheet music now and online masterclasses, everybody will be notified.
And the great thing about learning with you, as you have probably gathered by listening to this podcast, is Ariana will not just tutor you in playing the flute, she will also ground you as a human being and as an individual. Because learning, that's what they don't teach you at music school. They teach you how to play the flute and how to interpret a piece. But there's another side of it that really influences your music, which is how you're feeling and how to unlock the emotion, the narrative of a piece of music. And if you're not in a great space, you can't unlock that narrative. So therefore, your music potentially could become one-dimensional. So with Ariana, you're going to be unlocked. You're going to get a therapeutic session, a therapy. The therapist that is Ariana.
I love it. Thanks, Jean-Paul.
Oh, wow. You've been so kind today. I've used up so much of your time. I know you're a very, very busy person. Thank you.
You know when they say when you're in the zone, I've been in the zone, John Paul, and I've just looked at the time and I can't believe it's 4:16 p.m. here. Oh, wow.
I know it's a long podcast, but the reason I'm quiet most of the time is because I'm hearing lots of things, and I learn. I'm getting on a bit now, but I have this opinion and this belief that I learn every single moment of the day. You know, I can learn something from a 6-year-old, and I can learn something from someone that's 106. And I just sit, I'm just learning all the time. And, you know, you've been through rough times with trolls, and you've changed the way that you've played your flute. You've changed the way that you've portrayed yourself online because you've just become Ariana. You haven't tried to be what other people expect you to be. And I think if anyone can take anything from this podcast, is that you can give yourself permission to be you. And that's what you do in your social media, your YouTube, and also how you come over in the podcast. It's okay to be you.
Wow, Jean-Paul, thank you. This, you know what they say, hitting in the feels, you know. They say, thank you for that. Yes, and it's very nice. It's just a beautiful feeling to feel seen as and acknowledged in that way, so that someone sees that I'm striving to be as authentic as I can and being me. And exactly what you said, you know, everyone listening, do not be afraid to be you. Whatever that is, there's no rule. What is it when somebody says the word, oh, that's normal? What does normal mean? What are we comparing it to? What's it relevant to? It's very, you know, you can go deep with that. So just be you. That's the answer.
Yeah, it's like happy. It's like happy, isn't it? Happiness is very different. I mean, I've just had a massive great coffee, so it's a triple espresso.
Oh, yes.
It's espresso before I started, so I'm very happy. But mine's artificial happiness. But
but you're still happy.
Oh yeah, I mean, you have to be happy, because I know it's very hard at times, but just trying to be happy and trying to be present in this moment, because it's only this moment that counts. It's not tomorrow and it's not yesterday. It is this moment, and it's just taking life as it comes, and take the crap when it arrives, but also embrace small things.
That's all we have, is the present moment. We are always living. I think they say, you know, depression is when you're living in the past, and anxiety is when you're living in the future. So I think if we just did the present moment, that doesn't exist then. There's no depression or anxiety. We're just happy.
Well, the present moment, my present moment's just gone to another present moment. So
yeah, exactly. Can't keep up with it. Wow, Jean-Paul.
Oh, it's been brilliant. And
it's been lovely.
You know, thank you so much for allowing me to take so much of your time. It's been a long time.
Thank you so much, Jean-Paul. It's been absolutely inspiring for me too, and just love this talk. It's been, I just love it. And if we could even talk for hours more, I would still be here. But I think for listeners, I think it's enough information for now. So, do perhaps a volume 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have
ask the listeners.
And if you've got any questions for Ariana, you can either email them directly to her via our website, or just email them to me at flutepodcast@gmail.com. And next time we speak, we'll come up with the questions. Let's make sure we catch up soon. It's been too long.
Definitely, Jean-Paul. We have to catch up. It's been too long.
So may your week ahead be musically fulfilling, and may your third octave B be especially sweet and in tune, because mine never is. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Talking Flutes and Talking Flutes Extra are podcast productions by the Trevor James Flute Company. For more information, visit trevorjamesflutes.com.